so tapped into this work. What got you wanting to be a birth worker?
I was born into it. I inherited it. My paternal tatarabuela, that's great grandmother, she did what I do now. She did it on a mass scale, and she was very, very loved by her community in Mexico, just outside of Mexico City. And my grandmother was raised by her because my grandmother was an orphan. So she learned, she always says like, oh yeah, I was trained by the elders, and I thought that was normal. I learned everything in the old ways. So my grandmother learned from her grandparents. She learned Nahuatl, the native, one of our many native Mexican languages. She taught me some phrases. She forgot a lot of it. She taught me about the uses of the rebozo and all of the postpartum care practices, the baños después de like the postpartum baths, the wrapping your uterus, wrapping your womb, the way I teach how to use a faja, how to use a rebozo to tie your
Yeah,
to
can you explain to people that don't know what the rebozo is and how it works?
Yeah, the rebozo is a traditional Mexican textile, usually made of cotton or of agave fiber, traditionally, and it's used using the backstrap loom. It's a loom that's specific to Mesoamerica, where you sit kneeling on the floor, and then the strap goes around your hips in a really supportive, ergonomic fashion, right on your sacrum, and then it goes up into a tree or a pole or whatever long, tall structure that you can tie it to, and then you weave through it. And that weave represents the web of life.
Mm.
There's a goddess, several of the goddesses, Tlaltecutli, Tosi, they have unspun cotton fibers in their headdresses, and they have in their regalia, they have like looming fibers and looming tools. They have the what is it, the spindle and the whirl in
Mm.
their
Oh,
regalia.
wow.
Hmm.
Wow. And is your grandmother still alive?
Yeah, she's 80 years old.
And does she still practice?
She she was a seamstress for many, many years. She stopped practicing. She only practices on us. So when I had my baby 5 months ago, she came. And I took videos on my Instagram feed.
Mm.
She made me my faja. The style that she does it is
Yeah.
actually, she doesn't use a rebozo. There's so many different ways. So this is 4,500 years of tradition. So every community does it a little bit differently.
Mm.
The way she does it is she uses the raw, it's like a raw cotton, and then she cuts it to my size, and then she wraps it around me several times with special oil and herbs.
Mm.
And then she's so funny because she could tell if I'm not wearing it. She'll be like, "Oh, you didn't wear it today, did you? You need to wear it."
So it's something you wear how all the time?
During postpartum, you have to wear it all the time for the whole 40 days. And then even after that, it's kind of as needed. So if you're out and about, if you're doing housework, if you're shopping, if you're gardening, anything physical, you need to be wearing it.
Mm. And your mother did this practice as well? Did she was she a birth worker as well?
Yeah, my mom was my birth worker. She was my postpartum doula. She came every single day for 40 days. She made me the traditional, and she's so funny. She's first generation Chicana, my mom. She's like a lesbian Chicana. Like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but my mom says it's good, so I'm just gonna do it.
Wow. Wow.
And she held it down for me. She made me caldos, like really nourishing, slow cooked broths, like a different broth every week, and prepared it different. I never got tired of the food. Like, and then she kept me on check too. She made my husband taquitos, and I was like, "Ooh, can I have one?" She's like, "No, you're in your cuarentena." And I'm like, "Please, just one." And she's like, "No."
Wait. So why? Wait, what's the idea behind it? It's not good for you. It's not good for your healing.
Yeah, so if you're when you open up and you give birth, you're soft and you're open, and you need easily digestible foods, which
I
are
see.
caldos. And so the broth, the fat and the nutrients from the bone broth coat your gut and relax your body, and they heal your muscle tissue. They heal all the tissue in your body. So if I'm eating something crunchy, that's going to take extra work for my body to digest.
Ah, that makes total sense. This
Mm-hmm.
is such important information. How lucky you were to be born into this
Yeah.
family, into this tradition. I mean, it reminds me of when I got really into birth after I had my first son Milo. I found this conference called The Art of Birth, and I remember this is in 1997. I remember seeing this traditional midwife from Belize. I remember this so well, and she was in her 80s, and she was explaining to all, it was all birth crunchy people, it was all Birkenstocks and
Yeah.
birth
Hats.
workers from all over, and she was talking about in her tradition, she's never once in 80 years given an episiotomy, and she uses hot oil on the
Yeah.
cloth, and
Yeah.
my mind was blown away. So it's
Yeah.
just these traditions that we are losing, as people die off, and it's
Oh,
so important that people like you are continuing to practice and continue the work. So do you educate other birth workers as well?
I do. I have several trainings. I have an online training for specifically for postpartum, all for postpartum. Just, we learn the traditional foods. And then I also share my story of how I learned, because the way that I learned was in my grandmother's kitchen, and my grandmother's working on me. And they weren't like, this is how you do it because of this. They like nada de like intellectual stuff. It was all heart-centered, like, oh, I remember when my grandmother did this for me and everybody loved her, and 500 buses came to her funeral, and they shut down the whole
Mm,
market in Mexico City because she was so loved, and she took care of so many people, and she massaged everybody and healed everybody, and she's wrapping me in this love, and I'm just like feeling my tatarabuela's energy just going into my womb, and I just feel like she's right there, and I just feel like so just in my purpose and just held by my ancestors while she's doing that. And I wanted to replicate that. Like, how do I even do that online? So I wrote a book, and when I have
tell everyone what's the name of the book.
it's called Cerrando Caderas. Yeah,
What
right
does
now,
that mean?
nothing.
Is it really cerrando carteras?
Cerrando caderas. It means closing hips. One of the most important rituals in postpartum care is the closing of the hips. So when you give birth, your hips open up. When you're pregnant, and even when your womb is dropped, even if you have weak musculature, your hips open. And in Western language, they call it misalignment.
Mm-hmm. Like
So,
pelvic floor work, right? Right.
mhm. Yeah, for us, it's either open or closed.
Okay.
That's the way we talk about it. And so when your hips are open, all of your muscles become lax, your internal organs start to move, shift down. And then during pregnancy, that's normal. It's a part of the process. It helps you become loose and open and facilitates labor. But postpartum, all of that is supposed to come back together. So imagine all of your muscles, your ligaments, all of your bony structure being opened, and then you going out there in the cold working days postpartum, what that will do, and
Mm-hmm.
like the effect that would have lifelong on your body. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's why a lot of folks, you hear them, oh, my body was never the same after I had kids. But if you practice traditional postpartum medicine, your body comes back better. You have better sex. You have your body's more in alignment, and you have the same amount, if not more, strength.
Can you do work on women years after they've had their children? Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I've worked on folks who have even surgery. One of my oldest clients, she was in her 70s, and she had years and years. She had like um a son who was already maybe like, I don't know, in his 50s. And she had
Mm.
an old cesarean, one of those vertical scars.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what were you able to do for her?
So with scars, the scars are different. Um, the scar work is really, really subtle and gentle. And what happens if you have any type of injury is you have scar tissue and your fascia, instead of, let's say you have a cut and you rip yourself, it has a zipper like effect, and the scar tissue just grows around the zipper and it
Mm-hmm.
seals it shut and it becomes, it stays flexible.
Mm-hmm.
But with a surgical scar, you're having a scar like this, and then the scar tissue doesn't know where to mend itself. So it kind of does this, it goes in and out, it goes, grabs onto anything, and then it pulls everything that it grabs a hold of, it pulls it towards the site. So you're feeling tenderness, you're feeling tension, you're feeling um, pain, numbness. There's even lack of feeling, indigestion. Everything that's pulling and everything around it is affected by that scar tissue. So,
Mm.
yeah. So the
So with
first,
her, do you work with castor oil in loosening the scar? Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. I have my clients do castor oil packs. So I have them do this. If they have scar tissue or if they have like a ongoing issue like fibroids or PCOS, I have them do a fast of bone broth for 3 days. So they could have a really nourishing homemade bone broth with really, really well cooked veggies and really, really, really well cooked meat that fell off the bone. If you think about like a chicken soup with a little bit of chicken, a little bit of veggies, having that for 3 whole days to clear the colon, to bring down inflammation in the gut. Because what happens is some guts are so irritated by the scar tissue and even just by a fallen uterus, a dropped uterus, that it's just so sensitive to the touch. Like you
Mm.
touch it and the person's in immediate pain.
Mm.
And so some body workers will just be like, oh, well, you're going to put up with the pain. One of the women who trained me, she's so, one of my other mentors, she calls it estilo rústico. So like rustic style, you just
Mm.
get it done, you're in and out, and that's it. The faster, the better,
Yeah.
the, and the pain is just irrelevant.
Mm.
For myself, I have a lot of clients. I would say the majority already have medical trauma and sexual trauma.
Mm.
They come in with it. So I want to offer a restorative experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
I,
faster is not necessarily better.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we talk birth control? Because I know that's, how we met was you came to talk about your, philosophy and the work you do with birth control. Our new film, Abby and I have coming out called The Business of Birth Control. And it looks at hormonal birth control and the effects of it and the fact that we're not educated about these drugs. So I just wonder where you stand on it and what do you have to say on the issue?
Yes. I have so many clients who come in, one for the IUD crash. I don't know if you have folks talking about the IUD crash. My worst case was a client who had lost so much weight. She was like 90 pounds. She came in and she was hunched over. She just like had no strength, no muscle in her, and then also just no fight, no vigorousness, no essence in her. Like she was just depressed. She stopped going to school. She stopped working. Her
So
partner,
was she having like an allergic reaction to it?
her body adjusted to the hormones in the IUD, and when she took it off, or the Mirena, when she took it off, it just crashed her entire
Hmm.
system, and we had to slowly, your hormonal system, your hormones take about 3 months to reset. So she had to go through this for a few months until she finally found me. Then an additional 3 months for her to be able to stand up straight and get out of bed throughout the day.
So what did you do for her? What
Yeah.
kind of practice did you use on
Yeah.
her?
First, when someone comes in like so débil, so fragile, I just nourish, 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 nourish. So bone broths, probiotics, probiotic foods. I taught her and her husband how to make fermented foods at home.
Mm-hmm.
My now 11-year-old, he was maybe like 4 at that time, and he was like showing them to, I gave them fermented foods. Here, eat
So
this.
fermented foods, you mean like sauerkraut and like what other foods? Pickles? Is that
Yeah,
fermented?
some pickles are fermented. There's pickling and fermenting are different. So pickling is soaking them in vinegar and water. Fermenting is like my abuela says, like it makes its own vinegar. What it is salt and water. You just make a salt water brine, soak them, and then as you're soaking them, you soak them for 20 days. As you're soaking them, it releases CO2 gases, and then the natural yeast in whatever vegetable or fruit you're fermenting
Mm-hmm.
starts to feed whatever bacteria is around in the air, and then it becomes a probiotic food. It has good, healthy bacteria for you to consume that helps with your emotions, it helps with your digestion, the absorption of everything that you're eating, and it helps with your boost your immunity. It has a lot of vitamin C too.
So most of your protocol is food based, would you say?
It's food based, it's herbal, and then I do a lot of body work. So putting my hands on your belly, rubbing out, that sounds like rubbing one out, but that's not what I do. Rubbing the belly, clearing the lymphatic system, you could see a difference right away. Um, you could see that their belly, they come in kind of like with a little poofy belly, and it feels hard and thick. It almost feels like it's just fat, and then it actually goes down and it decreases and it becomes flat and it becomes bouncy and movable like a baby's belly. If you ever touch a baby's belly, it just feels like it's just endlessly squishy, like you could just get cute aggression and just squish all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way everyone's belly is supposed to feel all the time. And
Wow.
so yeah.
And do you have other, I mean, ideas about, what birth control women should use? I mean, how did that woman do at the end of her protocol with you? Is
She
she
did
fine?
better. She did better. I lost contact with her. That was years ago. But she got better. I don't know if she recovered in her relationship. I know, her and her spouse were having issues because he had to pick up the slack and do a lot while she slept
Mm-hmm.
and rested and recovered. Um, so yeah, but she was able to get back to um, baseline. Yeah, she was able to get back to baseline. She was still struggling with circulation at the end, and that's the last thing I remember. That was years ago. Yeah.
Mm. All right, wait, I'm looking through some of these questions and comments. I mean, you're beloved. It's like everyone is like so grateful for you. What kind of salt should people use if they're trying to ferment their own food?
Yeah, anything but table salt. So you could use sea salt and just regular purified water, never alkaline water, because alkaline water will kill the good bacteria. And then you don't want to leave it in the sun because the sun is also antibacterial. So you want to leave it outside of the sun in a room temperature area. I have
In
my
like a jar? Do you put it in a jar to
Yeah,
cover it?
I just put it in a jar with the lid and let it sit. My mom, she does it different. She loves going over the top with everything. So she gets a jar, she fills it to the top, she puts like a little like a casserole under it in case it leaks, and then she burps it. She opens it every day, lets the gases out and closes it. I just don't fill it to the top so I don't have to burp it. And then I'll check on it visually every day. Mhm.
I see. And you said 20 days it takes?
20 days is the the sweet spot. So if you do 20 days, you're getting the broadest spectrum of probiotics in the actual brine and vegetable. You could do as little, if it's like warm weather, you could do as little as 3 or 4 days. And it'll still be, you could consume it and it'll have probiotics. You could do even longer. The longer you keep it, the more it turns vinegar like, more like pickles.
Are you taking any specific supplements right now because of COVID-19 personally?
Yeah, I'm taking vitamin C and I'm taking an herbal blend with immune boosting herbs and also herbs that help nourish my adrenals, adaptogenic herbs, because it's a stressful time for everybody. I also do teas every day. Right now, I have a big pot of ginger, canela, cinnamon, a bunch of antibacterial herbs like clove, star anise, Um, what else do I have in there? I have a bunch of herbs, and then afterwards I use that as a base to make other types of delicious tea. Like with that base, I'm gonna make my kids love golden milk, so I'm gonna make golden milk with that, and then I'll make like another like cold tea or like a room temperature tea for the kids, or maybe a nighttime tea. But those are my base antiviral, antibacterial herbs.
Amazing. And someone asked, what would you recommend for people? Regarding the bone broth, people that don't eat animal products, is there something they can take instead?
There's nothing that replaces bones. Some herbs that you can take. So one of the reasons why we do the bone broth is because it's nourishing to the gut. So it lines the gut, it softens the mucosa. Some of the herbs that soften the mucosa, I'm looking outside because I have some of them here, are mallow or malva. Right now it's growing like wild. If you go into your backyard, if you have one, it might be growing. It was growing in my yard earlier. I use it as a ground cover for the winter, and we just pulled it out, and we made tea for everyone. With the little leaves, I actually sauteed it with spinach. With the larger leaves, I made a tea. And then with the root, I made a tincture. And it's all softening, mucilaginous. It's all anything that softens your mucosa. Your mucosa is sympathetic to one another. So if it lubricates your mouth, it's going to lubricate your gut, lubricate your vulva, vagina. It's all interrelated.
I
So,
see. Okay.
yeah.
Someone's asking, what are the herbs they can take as pregnant women? Herbs for pregnant women. I see raspberry leaf, rose hips, spearmint. What else?
I recommend really nourishing herbs. I took nettle. Nettle has a lot of zinc, a lot of minerals. Nettle, dandelion is really rich in minerals because dandelion, if you ever pull it out of your yard, it'll have a really long taproot. And those really long taproots, just like the mallow, they have a lot, they absorb more nutrients because they go deeper into the earth. They're looking for richer soil. And so dandelion is one of those herbs. Alfalfa is a really good blood cleanser, gentle blood cleanser. So it's not like harmful to you and baby. But alfalfa, and then it's also high in nutrients. I have a student who is grew up in a ranch in Colombia, and she said that every morning they grew alfalfa for their cattle, but every morning their mom would go and cut alfalfa and strain it in her hand and squeeze out the green juice and just give them a shot of it in the morning. She said they never got sick. They were always so healthy, and she really did look healthy and robust. And I was like, wow, nice. So the fresher, the better for alfalfa.
Okay. And what about for anxiety? Do you have anything to recommend for that?
Yeah, there's a lot. Motherwort is one of my favorites.
Okay.
I like it in a tincture under the tongue, 20 drops under the tongue. I have it, I make it myself, and I make it super strong. A lot of people don't like the taste because it's so bitter, but to me, it tastes sweet. I must need it because it tastes delicious to me.
And
And
do you sell your products, or when are you making it just for your family?
I'm I'm amazing, and I'm not the best businesswoman, so I mostly give them out to my clients when I make them. But I have sold them. I just don't like having to make things to keep a product going. So right now I have um, a lot of stuff um, tinctured up, but for clients, and I'll most likely give it away to them.
Yeah. And you're not able to see your clients right now. So, that must be so challenging because you're amazing. You're amazing. The work you do is so, so valuable, and your knowledge, the book you wrote, someone was asking to repeat the title again.
Oh,
Where can
yeah,
people find it?
yeah, Cerrando Caderas. Cerrando Caderas right now is only available to students who take my A Cerrar las Caderas online postpartum course. So right now it's only available to those students. And then you could, if you want to check it out, I'm at indigescuela.com. You could check out the course there for more info. I'm looking to publish it. So right now I have my assistant looking for a book agent, like a really dope Chicana feminist book agent
Hmm.
who could find the best home for my book because I've spent so many years writing it. It was just first like a little info sheet, and then it turned into the manual for my course. And then I started putting my stories in, and then I was like, oh, it's a 200-page book now. Okay, I guess I should let go of it and put it out there.
Amazing, amazing. You're so awesome. It's so nice to talk to you. And I want to remind everyone that's watching right now, please follow us. You know, Abby and me, our work at the Biz of, and again, you can watch all of our films on the business of dot life. It's confusing. The business of dot life is our website, and at the Biz of is our Instagram. And we're gonna do more of these talks. It is so wonderful to spend this time with you, Panquetzani. Thank you so much for the work you
Yeah,
do.
sure, for sure. Yeah, thank you for making yourself available and for coming on. I also want to say, I don't know if you mentioned, but your movies are free right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
The business of dot life has all of the business of being born, the follow-up series available for everyone to watch, and just spread the word because, I think, 12 years ago this film came out, and this information is more valuable, I think, than ever for you to go into the hospital system or wherever you choose to give birth and to be educated
yeah.
and empowered. So, and the business of birth control will be coming out this year, and you're featured in it. So thank you so much. I love you and I love the work you do. Tell your abuela I send my love as well.
Oh, tell them
Mhm.
both. Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
and thank
you.
you so much. Have a beautiful day and
Bye.
stay well and
Bye,
safe.
everyone. All right. Take
Bye
care. Bye,
bye.
Ricki.